Welcome to the Supreme Grammar Podcast, where you can learn to write like a Supreme Court Justice, with me, Jill Barton. In this episode, our AI hosts explore how to make legal writing crystal clear, even when the subject matter isn't. Let's listen in.
Okay, let's get into this. If you're working in law, maybe still in school or, already practicing, clear writing is just essential, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's critical.
But how do you actually get there? Making those really complex legal ideas crystal clear, like the top people do.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at the Supreme Guide to Writing. And our mission today really is to pull out the most practical tips from the guide.
Stuff you can actually use.
Exactly. How to untangle those sentences, fix constructions that are just unwieldy, and basically write with that precision you see from, say, Supreme Court justices. It's like a shortcut to being a clearer, more modern writer.
Okay, now the guide is obviously focused on legal writing, but does it say legal writing is totally separate, like its own beast?
No, not at all, actually. That's a key point it makes. Good writing principles, they're universal. Clarity, being concise, having force, it applies everywhere.
But especially in law.
Especially in law, because the subject matter itself is often so dense, so complex. Using plain, simple language isn't about dumbing down. It's the most effective way to make sure your argument actually lands, that people get it.
Simple language for complex stuff. Makes sense. So the guide gives us, three main principles for this plain language approach?
That's right. 3 big ones to keep in mind. 1, make every single word count.
Okay.
2, use vigorous English.
Vigorous. Got it.
And 3, use short words, short sentences, and importantly, short paragraphs.
All right, let's tackle that first one. Make every word count. I mean, sometimes in legal writing, it feels like you're almost supposed to be wordy. How do you break that habit?
Yeah, it takes some conscious effort. Discipline, really.
All right.
Every word has to pull its weight, add meaning or emphasis. The guide basically says be brutal with your editing.
Brutal how?
Cut the fluff. Unnecessary words, weak adjectives, adverbs that don't add much. Those intensifiers like clearly when it's not actually clear, or qualifiers rather, that just weaken your statement.
Ah, okay. Does the guide have an example? Sometimes seeing it helps.
It does. A good one. Compare this. Clearly, Jones was rather enthusiastic about the news that a settlement was reached in the lawsuit.
Oof. Yeah, that's a mouthful. And kind of weak, actually.
Right. Now listen to the guide's fix. Jones was enthused because the lawsuit settled.
Wow, straight to it. Much stronger.
Way leaner, way clearer. It cuts clearly, rather, uses a strong verb enthused, and just states the facts.
That's a big difference. Are there other common wordiness traps, things we should look out for?
Oh yeah, wordy warm-ups are huge. Starting sentences with it is or there is.
Like, it is important to note that.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of it is significant to note that the ruling below is inconsistent. I guess it's just right. The ruling below is inconsistent. Simple.
Okay.
Or there is no evidence showing that Kern Corp breached. Becomes no evidence shows that Kern Corp breached. See how it just gets you to the point faster.
Yeah, it feels more direct, less throat clearing.
And redundancy. Avoid what the guide calls elegant variation, changing terms for the same thing just because you think it sounds better. If you mean the plaintiff, keep saying plaintiff.
Don't switch between plaintiff and the claimant and M. Smith, just for variety if plaintiff is the defined term.
Precisely. Consistency is key for clarity, especially with legal terms. Like the guide's example, if a fork is legally defined as a deadly weapon in the case, stick with deadly weapon. Don't call it a utensil later.
Okay, that makes total sense. Keep it consistent. So trim the fat. What about making the words left behind punchier? That's principle 2, right? Vigorous English.
Yes. This is about using strong nouns and, really importantly, active verbs. Avoid nominalizations.
Nominalizations. Those are turning verbs into nouns.
Exactly, like saying affect a termination instead of just terminate, or make a determination instead of determine. It buries the action.
And in law, the action who does what is usually the whole point.
It really is.
Yeah.
The guide has this contract example. The parties' contract contained provisions requiring good faith dealings and allowing the wronged party to effect a termination upon the violation of the good faith provision. Kind of dense, right?
Yeah, my eyes glaze over a bit trying to track that.
Now, compare it to the revised version. The parties' contract provided that the parties must deal in good faith, or the wronged party may terminate the agreement.
Oh, much better. Provided, must deal, may terminate. Clear actions, clear consequences.
See? Strong active verbs make all the difference. The guide also suggests positive phrasing, say outdated, not current, It's just more direct.
Okay, active verbs, positive phrasing. Got it. Now, principle 3, short words, short sentences, short paragraphs. This feels like it goes against the grain of traditional legal writing.
It definitely challenges the stereotype. The guide basically says use simple words. Think 10 centers, not $20 words. Avoid jargon, avoid Latin, unless it's a necessary term of art, like mens rea.
So no showing off with obscure vocabulary.
Pretty much. Justice Scalia had that great cocktail party test. Would you use that word talking to someone at a party? If not, maybe rethink using it in your writing.
Huh. I like that. What about sentence length?
Keep them short, mostly. Short sentences land with impact. Of course, you vary the length for flow, but lean towards concise, declarative statements. They're powerful.
And short paragraphs, too.
Yes. Avoid those huge blocks of text. Break it up. Use transitions, sure, but give the reader's eyes a break. It makes it much less intimidating to read.
Right. Visual clarity matters, too. The guide also mentions punctuation, doesn't it? Specifically periods.
It does. Chapter 12 points out how justices sometimes use periods for emphasis, even with fragments, like just writing, not so, period. It adds punch.
Interesting. So grammar rules can sometimes be bent for effect.
Within reason, for clarity and impact, yes. And Chapter 25 tackles prepositions. Forget that old rule about never ending a sentence with one if the alternative is super awkward. The one we are already on sounds way more natural than the one on which we are already. Clarity trumps awkward formality.
That's good to know.
But, and this is crucial, do cut unnecessary prepositions. Those wordy phrases like in order to can usually just be to, with regard to, can often be simplified or cut. The guide shows how trimming prepositional phrases really tightened up a Nebraska statute example, making it much clearer.
So it's not about avoiding prepositions at the end, it's about avoiding needless prepositional phrases everywhere.
Precisely. Cut the clutter.
Okay, this is great. Focusing on word choice, active voice, simplicity, even thinking about punctuation like periods, it all adds up to stripping away the unnecessary stuff, like the guide shows.
It really does work together. When you apply these principles, your writing becomes clearer, more direct. You start writing more like those highly respected legal writers using modern standards.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you listening. Pull up the last thing you wrote, an email, memo, whatever. How many words could you realistically cut right now using these ideas from the guide to make your point hit harder?
No showing off. Keep it short. That's advice straight from the Supreme Court justices. Next time, we'll build on this topic and dive into writing concise sentences. And remember, you can be a great legal writer.